So, so now we're in mid 2011, and now at this point, I'm realizing I got to start marketing this thing because my ex partner on this podcast, he quit. So the podcast was done. So the podcast ends, and then then he moves. And so now I'm like, all right, I gotta figure out how to do this.
All right, we are recording. So today I have on Tripp Kramer. He is the founder of trippadvice.com, as well as the YouTube channel by the same name. He helps men of all walks of life to improve their interactions with women, and he does live coaching as well as offering video courses and coaching via the internet. So Tripp, thank you for coming on to speak with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to be here. Let's get into some good stuff. Happy to share.
Definitely. And so we talked a little bit before the call about this, but you have a pretty impressive company at this point that you're running. We just talked about you're running it remote, traveling all over the world while you're doing it. Besides the fact that you're a dating coach, which is an interesting industry, that's just a pretty enviable lifestyle. So I want to get into how you started it. But before I do that, I want to start with this question. So what is the most exciting thing that you're working on right now, and why is that?
Okay, so I'd say right now I'm working on a book. So I just wrote a book. I forced myself to sit down and write it within 4 weeks. Basically, it was a crazy goal, but I just made a hard deadline, and I just pushed everything else aside, and I just worked on this book for 4 weeks. And it's everything that I've been teaching in terms of dating advice over the past 9 years, and all just kind of put into book format. So
nice, condensed.
That's probably why it didn't take so long, because it's everything I've been talking about for years and years and years, just in concise book format. So right now it's off to the editor, and then it's going to be live on Amazon, hopefully at the end of the year. And it's just, a great summary of what to do if you're a guy who's shy and needs to learn, how to meet women and how to be. So the book is called Magnetic. So it's how to be that magnetic man. Okay. So I'm very excited about that. And I'm not a big writer. I mean, as we can see, I put a lot more effort into the YouTube channel and videos. My blog is kind of, needs a lot of work, but I'm more into just making videos. So I'm proud that I was able to sit down and just write this thing, because it's not my natural ability to sit down and write all this stuff out. But because I've been teaching it for so long, it just came pouring out of me. And so I feel like I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it in that month. And so I'm excited to get it out and get this thing out there, because I honestly never thought I'd be able to write a book and even take the time to do it. So it's pretty cool.
That's super impressive. And so a lot of people though that work online, especially YouTubers, because they seem so gregarious on camera and interactive, you wouldn't pin them as the type of person that's going to be a grinder sitting there and, knocking out a book in a month. But behind the scenes, a lot of business owners are. How much do you think that ability has helped you? Have you had to develop it? Because most people can't just, no matter how much they want to, sit down in a month and write a book, even if they know the subject well.
There's a few things with that. I think, first of all, when you are really, I'll use the fun keyword that's been going around lately, passionate, when you find your passion.
Yeah.
But it's true. When you find something that you really love, it most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, it never translates to work. It doesn't feel like work. Because you really enjoy doing it. So sometimes I just feel like I'm not even working. I'm just living, because I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. Now, of course, that's not all the time. There are some times where you're just doing things that you have to do for the business and you don't enjoy doing it. But one thing you do is you find someone to hire to do it for you if there's something you really, really hate. But either way, I think just loving what you're doing helps you grind something out that might be really hard. But also, it's really cool. I have a business partner. And so, we make sure that I have deadlines to do things. Now, of course, it's all self-imposed. If I don't make the deadline, I don't get fired. And I don't get a slap on the wrist. But there is something psychological about, you have a partner, you have someone who's kind of holding you accountable to do something. And so you just do it. Now, also what I did was in that month, I put out very little videos, very little podcast episodes, and almost did nothing else except for write the book. So there was never any time that I was distracted by anything else. It was like, what am I doing today? Oh, well, I'm eating, I'm sleeping, I'm writing this book. That's pretty much it. Right. Yeah. So when you give yourself that space, if you can, again, I'm able to do that now because I'm 7 years into the business and I've outsourced and hired so many people to do things for me that I can do that. If you're just starting the business, just trying to get it up, just trying to start a YouTube channel, just trying to create your course, just trying to refine your service, trying to get clients, and you're writing a book, that book's going to take you probably a very long time. And of course it is, right? So, and that's probably one of the reasons why I haven't done it up until now. Most people write books right away, especially in my industry. Like, oh, you write a book as soon as you can, or you try to even get it published. Because if you're a published author, like officially published by a publishing company, then you have more credibility, things like that. But yeah, I put it off for a long time and finally realized that that was the next step in this business, is like, you got to have a book. I'm not getting it published professionally. Could I? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I don't know if any publishers would accept it, but I did hear from one a long time ago that the men's dating advice niche isn't a big market for published books. Most guys don't walk into a bookstore and buy a book on dating advice. Women do a lot of that. That's why you'll see a lot of dating advice books for women, but men do it secretly. So I thought, okay, it's going to be a really big hustle to get this thing published. If I get it published, cool, I can send a published author, but I'm going to make basically no money because they take most of that. And so I thought, you know what? Why don't I just put it on Amazon, get it out to as many people as I can. I can still get it out to a lot of people. I can make the money from that aspect. But even making the book isn't really a money endeavor. I mean, there's only so much money you're going to make off of a book. It'll be a nice little extra paycheck, but it won't be big. So the point of writing that book is to just have something else in my industry, put it out, have another medium basically, right? So I have YouTube video, I have podcast audio. Well, now I'm going to have a book on Amazon. So it's like kind of checking off all the different areas that your market might go and trying to attack that. So that was kind of like the next progression in the business, was to write the book. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. You want to have all your different channels covered, or start to at least do that.
Exactly. Yeah. All the different channels. Yeah.
That's interesting. I like that you're able to do that, though, transition, since you're, more video heavy, that you also are covering that. I feel like for a lot of YouTubers, especially, that don't like that, I know a lot of them have just got, audio transcripts and have someone write it. So
I thought about that. Impressive. I thought about that. Someone gave me a tip. They said, here's what you can do. You can outline the book. Okay, make an outline. You can get a bunch of questions for each chapter. You give it to someone to interview you. You answer the questions, or you just audio and just answer the questions, and then you send it off to a ghostwriter to write it. So yeah, that is one way to do it. But in my gut, I was like, it's not going to work. Like, they're not going to be able to get the tone of my voice, and they're not going to be able to spell out the intricacies of the stuff that I'm teaching, because they're not teaching it. They're just listening and writing. And so as I'm writing the book and I'm like a quarter of the way through, I'm like, there's no way someone will be able to write this, because I'm writing little details that only I would be able to write as I'm writing it. So it's going to inherently make the book of more value.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I did actually try a ghostwriter like 4 years ago. And I was like, here's my program, write the book. And they wrote it, and it was so dry and very technical because they don't have anything to add themselves. They're just taking off of what I'm saying.
Yeah, so they just have the surface level, what's in the program, like no context.
They can't give examples. Now, maybe I could do that audio.
Yeah.
But still, it's not going to be translated in the exact way. So I would say to anyone, if anyone's watching this who is interested in writing a book, just write it. Yes, it's harder. But I mean, that's kind of the thing too. When it comes to like business and goals and success, like you have to go to the route of where it's hardest, because you're always going to be putting out something that's better, that's more quality, it's more valuable. Like the shortcuts, they rarely work. The shortcuts are just, it's not a means to an end. It's really not. You're gonna it's the shortcuts are going to make more work in the long run. Just like me, right? I took all that time to hire a ghostwriter years ago, and now I'm completely scrapping that book.
Yeah.
So now I'm
like no point.
doing it all over again. There's no point. And that's kind of what I've learned, one of the big learning lessons from building the business is like, you gotta do things that are really hard and that are really grinding. It will be more beneficial in the long run.
Yep. Yeah. And I could see that with the book too. When you're talking about that, I just visualize you trying to, write out on paper interactions between two people, which is something, until you're actually writing each scene out, it's like you're not going to visualize the detail because it's not something people are used to walking someone through in the spoken language. It's like you're seeing it. So it's hard to, that seems like that'd be a hard thing to get a ghostwriter to do.
Yeah, definitely. Or, I couldn't do it either for another industry that I didn't know. It's like, it's, you got to be the one writing the stuff that you're knowledgeable about. Mm-hmm. It's just going to come through way better.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. So, we talked a little bit about you started off really hardcore on the video. So you had a pretty extensive background in the film industry. You worked as an assistant, an executive assistant. You're a tape blogger for, I think it was Parental Control at MTV. Wow, you did a bunch of jobs. Yeah, a bunch of jobs. Well, because that's the interesting part to me about guys like yourself who people see now and they're like, oh, he's just a YouTube celebrity business owner. And it's like, there's this whole life you went through. So that's kind of the interesting part to me is like, how did the idea for this or any business like start to marinate in your head? Were you thinking about starting your own company the whole time or did it just hit you at some point?
I've always had a desire to start a company. I've always had a desire to start a company online. Yeah. But really, it's not like I was sitting there being like, okay, I want to do this. Or what idea should I do? Right? It just kind of happened very naturally. So yeah, I was working in the entertainment industry. I've always was really into film and video. I've been making little videos since I was like a kid. So I always loved playing with cameras. And so, yeah, I wanted to be a producer. So I worked in the film industry for about 4 years and I really didn't like it. And I was it was an interesting crossroads and time in my life. I was kind of like I was in LA, I was in the film industry. I was in a very good position actually too. I was right about to really break in because I was like basically at the point where I was going to be a creative executive, which is a very big jump. So when you're an assistant in Hollywood, the biggest jump is getting out of assistant into like a real position where you start having assistants. So I was right there, but I was just slowly falling out of love with this industry. It was very dirty and the people in it kind of just were not good people. I mean, I'm not going to generalize. I was just surrounded by people I didn't really admire. My inspiration just totally died. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really like what I was doing. Now, in this exact period, I was learning how to go out and meet women and socialize because I was a shy guy. Mm-hmm. So the stuff that I teach now is stuff that I would be teaching to my old self, the stuff that I was learning to do in terms of meeting women, breaking out of my comfort zone. So I was kind of checked out of work and more focused on this personal development aspect, right?
Definitely,
so I'm in this personal development zone. I'm like working on myself and going out and like meeting girls and learning all this stuff and getting really into it. Yeah. And so that became this passion. And then one day my buddy, he goes, why don't we start a podcast and we'll give dating advice because you seem to be really into it right now. And I actually really argued with him. I was like, I don't want to do it. And he had to convince me, which is funny because now I love it, right? Obviously it's my whole life, but yeah, he had to convince me to do it. So I said, okay, fine. He's like, here, I'll show up with the script. I got the whole studio and we'll just have some fun. I said, fine. So I showed up. It was like a Monday night and we did this podcast and I titled it and I called it Dudes Talking About Chicks. Okay. It doesn't exist anymore. It was on iTunes for a while.
Version 1. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like super V1, like me figuring out how do I give advice in this area. But it became it was very natural for me, just very natural to explain the whole process of meeting women in a way that I wish people would have explained it to me when I was learning it. So I kind of took all the information. I was like, okay, this is how I want to teach a guy to learn confidence, attraction, meeting women, getting a girlfriend, all that stuff. So we did the podcast And it was awesome. We did like 40 episodes of it. iTunes picked it up on the What's Hot list.
Oh, wow.
Had a lot of traction. So now we had guys listening in live every week, asking questions. It became a whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was so exciting. Oh, wow, this is so cool. And I was just I was more into this than anything I was doing at the time.
Yeah.
And towards like episode 30 out of 40, my buddy who I was doing the podcast with, he was kind of checked out. He was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. He wasn't really into it. I was like, no, we really have something here. We can keep this going. He said, no, not really. And I was like, all right, well, listen, I want to start a dating advice company.
Yeah.
I'm so into this. I want to use this as a platform to market dating advice. And I want to see if I can coach guys and do it. So he was like, yeah, that's fine. Do whatever you want. And we did more episodes, and I'm a little off on the timeline here. So yeah, we're doing episodes. I start this business, but I'm still working at the other company. And then I realized if I really want to make this work, I have to quit my job. Like that, I don't have a choice. Yeah. So I quit completely. I got on unemployment. So I was making just barely enough money to cover basic bills.
Yeah, that's tough.
With very, very, very little savings. And I was just working on this. Now it's 2011 and I'm unemployed technically. And I started this business unofficially. I don't even think I had like a real LLC or anything. And I was like, all right, how am I going to coach guys? I've never really coached a guy before. I've only given advice through podcasting. So I put an ad on Craigslist.
Nice.
And I was like, all right, I'm going to
scrappy.
Yeah, totally. I was like, I'm going to teach you for free.
Okay.
I'm not going to charge you anything. I'm going to teach you for free how to meet girls. Reply back and I'll take you out. One person replied.
That's all you need.
I met up with this guy and I took him out and I helped him meet with him. He loved it. He was like, this is amazing. And he really liked it. I really liked the whole process. And it gave me even further motivation to say, hey, I could do this. So now we're in mid 2011 and now at this point I'm realizing I got to start marketing this thing because my ex-partner on this podcast, he quit. So the podcast was done. So the podcast ends and then and he moves. And so now I'm like, all right, I gotta figure out how to do this. And podcasts, believe it or not, it's really difficult to set up a podcast. You need, either a studio or somewhere to record where it sounds good. And there's a lot of tech involved. It was just, I didn't know how to figure all that out. I didn't really want to, but one thing I knew was video. And video is easy, make a video, upload it to YouTube, it's done.
Yeah.
So I started a YouTube channel, not the one that you see now. It's gone now. Okay. It was like V2.
Yeah.
Okay. So I started this YouTube channel. It was called The Social Rules. And I knew nothing about marketing. I had no idea, but I did know how to create a little show. So that's what it was. It was more of like a show where it was episodic, episode 1, 2, 3, 4. Every episode had a theme to it. I had multiple segments where I had people kind of giving maybe a little bit of advice and also some funny interviews on the street. And then I'd give some advice and I'd have some like girl advice and funny skits. I had like this funny skit that was called Teaching People Sex Positions, but I was doing it with Barbie dolls and showing it. So it was kind of like this, it was funny, but I was trying to be serious. It was kind of a mess, but it was really cool. I mean, and it turned out really well. And I would put all of my effort into this thing, made 20 episodes, each 10 minutes long. And it didn't do anything. Nothing happened. I put it on YouTube and it got zero traction and it wasn't working. Yeah. So now I'm like, what do I do?
That sounds like a lot of work, those type of episodes.
I was directing it. I was editing it. I didn't have any money, so I was doing everything myself. I did have a buddy who was an executive producer on it, so he was helping me he was an actor and he was in it. But nothing happened with it. So then I saw on YouTube, now we're in 2012. I saw on YouTube, people were just sitting down in front of a camera and just giving advice, just like this.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that sounds so much easier. Maybe that's what I have to do. Maybe I just got to sit down and just give them the advice and not do all this fancy editing and show kind of thing.
Yeah.
I started to do it. And I remember like lying in bed one night. I was like, I knew exactly what the first episode was going to be and what I was going to talk about. And I came up with all these ideas of different videos to make and different topics. And so I set up the camera on my balcony and I just started recording videos. And then again, nothing was happening. And I was like, okay, nothing's really happening. And then I came across a course, which was about YouTube marketing for small businesses. I was like, perfect. I got to buy this thing. It's $100. So I bought it, and I just followed every little thing that this course said. I sat down. I remember, I'll tell you a quick story. I remember I'm doing this course, and I'm watching the videos, and I'm taking notes, and I'm like, all right, I got to implement this thing and this thing with the YouTube and how to title it and make it good and make people watch it. And I remember I was watching this one video, and it was saying, you can't make videos that you want to make. You have to make videos that other people want to watch. So you have to find out the questions that your market is asking and answer those questions. And I was like, oh, I'm like, I don't want to do that. And this is a common thing that I see with business owners in this kind of industry, in this niche, is when it comes to information, people just want to talk about whatever they want to talk about, but not everyone is, you're not connecting with your audience because they might not be asking those questions. For example, I did a video called, how to set up your apartment for a girl. Now, while that's a good video, and I think guys should know that, that's not really what guys were asking. They weren't asking, how do I set up my apartment for a girl? They're asking questions like, how do I ask a girl out? How do I talk to girls? How do I kiss a girl? How do I get confidence, right? Those things. And so this course taught me how to find those questions, but I was sitting there and just like, oh man, like, it really gets into creativity, because you can't just do what you want to do. You gotta stay in this kind of structure. And I remember I was in a cafe, and I was waiting for my car to get fixed because there was something. It was like a 1997 Honda Civic, and it was totally breaking down. Every 3 months, I had to get a new car to it.
Okay.
I remember I was sitting there. I'm in the cafe. I'm taking notes, like trying to make this thing work. And I get a call from the guy who's like, "Okay, your car is done. Hey, I just want to let you know it's gonna be $700 to fix blah blah blah."
Holy shit!
$100, like, it's a lot of money. A lot of money, especially when you're not making any money.
Just on a 97 Civic, or a quarter or whatever. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's just a lot. I was like, oh, $700. I'm like, all right, I don't have a choice. So I was like, okay, like, it's fine. So I got that call, and I'm just like, all right, I need to make this business work. I'm just going to do whatever it takes. So I just finished the rest of that course and implemented everything it told me. And then I started getting more views to the YouTube channel. And then I saw traction. And I'm so glad that I found that course. And I'm so glad that I had that moment where I was like, all right, I'm just going to find out what works and do it. And whatever works. And I still have that mentality today. It's like, whatever is working, I'm going to do it. Because I have a goal and a mission, which is building this business and doing it at any cost that I need to. So that's been kind of the strategy since then. And it hasn't really failed me yet. And it keeps growing and growing. It's been awesome.
Wow. There's a lot of ups and downs at the beginning of that.
There's always ups and downs. There's still ups and downs all the time. It eats at you. Being an entrepreneur eats at you. It's really hard. I'm not going to ever tell anyone not to do it, but I need people to be prepared. Like, if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's fucking hard. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of grind. There's a lot of hustle. There's a lot of sacrifice you have to make because you're working a lot. And you're going to have months that are rough. You're going to have months that are great. You're going to have years that are rough. You're going to have years that are great. But I want to inspire people and tell people, if you have a great idea and you really believe in it and you think it's going to work, then you should do it, because when you get those good months, those good years, it's like no other feeling in the world. You're on top of the world. You feel amazing. You created something and it's working. And you're your own boss and you're doing your thing. But it's like the yin and the yang. You know what I mean? Like, there's always both sides to the coin. And to reach those moments, to grasp those moments of, oh, it's working. I'm doing it. I feel amazing. Yes, yes, yes. You do have to go through a lot of struggle. And I want people to know that, because I want people to see and be aware of when they're in the struggle moments, when they're like, this is really hard right now, and I want to give up, or I'm so angry, so upset, so emotional, whatever it is. Hopefully you can step outside of that and say, oh, wait a minute. Yep, this is one of those moments. I just have to keep going and push through it to the other side. Yeah. Some people make it. Some people don't. It all depends. You got to have a lot of drive. A lot of drive. So
to keep pushing through those low points.
Yeah, exactly. To keep pushing through when it's really tough, when you're just like, is it worth it? Is it worth it? I mean, I've had plenty of times where, I mean, especially in the beginning, I was like, oh, this is not going to work. But the thing was, I never had a moment where I was like, well, what's my plan B? I never had a plan B. My plan B was, this time Uber wasn't around. Even if Uber was around, they wouldn't take my 97 Honda Civic driver. But I was like, I'm going to be a pizza delivery boy and then continue to make this work. That was plan B, was just get another job to make money while I still work on this. So that was another thing. It was pushing myself out of the plane. You know what I mean? Like there's only one option, and it's ripping that cord, and that's it. You know, you give yourself one option. It's like do or die. And I had that because I really believed in it and believed I could do it well. And I just loved it. I love it. I enjoy it. I'm talking about the same topics for 9 years at this point, and I still love it. So I think that's what keeps me going.
Yeah. That's the interesting part. It's like for most entrepreneurs, or not most, but a lot, you know, they'll try anything because they just want to be an entrepreneur. But in this case, it seemed like you almost had decided pretty early on you wanted to stick in the dating industry. So like, was that the case? Like, what would happen if that, your minimum viable client didn't come out? Like, if you hadn't come out that night and responded to that Craigslist ad, do you think you would have stuck with dating, or do you think, like, why'd you end up sticking with dating?
I think I would have. Yeah. Honestly, it's funny. In this moment, I don't really see myself as an entrepreneur. I don't know what the definition of an entrepreneur is. It's someone who starts multiple businesses. I mean, I guess I'm an entrepreneur because I started a business. And even before that, I used to start little businesses all the time. So I have the entrepreneurial spirit, but I'm not someone who necessarily is always thinking of new business ideas to do. I do in my industry. I'm always coming up with ideas, but it's always in the dating advice industry. So, I don't know if the dating advice industry just died tomorrow, would I get a job? No, I'd probably still be an entrepreneur and I'd come up with something. So I would stay there, but I'm not like I don't consider myself a serial business starter. Yeah. Which, to me, when I hear the word entrepreneur, it's someone who's always coming up with ideas and building different businesses, and that's cool. But I'm really I'm so zoned in on this to make this work. And then when there's so much more work to be done. I mean, there's I just wrote a book. Like, that's another thing. That there's so many things to keep doing. And people always ask me, why don't you give a dating advice to women? I say, well, one, I don't really know how, to be honest. I'm sure I can maybe figure it out. But even if I did, that's another business. Okay. So what happens now? Now I have a men's dating advice business and I have a woman's dating advice business. While that's still in the realm of dating advice, it's still a separate business starting from the beginning. So what would I have to do? Well, there's only so much time in the day. So I'd have to take away time from the men's business and put it towards here. So now I have half my foot in the men's advice business, half my foot in the woman's advice business, and both are going to grow much slower. Okay, yes, this one is already doing its thing, but I want the men's advice business to skyrocket and boom. So if I want that to boom, I can't take time away from this. I got to keep on feeding this as much as I can. So people always ask me, do women advice? You have the men's advice? No, because I can't. I could, but I can't, because then I'm going to let Tripp Advice, the men's version, not grow as fast. So, maybe, I don't know, maybe in 10 years, maybe something will evolve and maybe I'll be doing something else related, or there'll be an evolution of it. Maybe women's advice will come into play, but there's so much work to be done still with this aspect, that this is the only focus in terms of the businesses that I want to do and start.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. That totally, instead of trying to do a shitty job on two different ones.
Exactly.
Just do a really good job with one.
Yes.
Totally. So I want to ask something a little bit, I guess, off that topic, is your background again in film. So you have some pretty good videos, but your intro video especially is so good. It's like one of the best I've seen. Definitely the best for like dating, where you're like riding around the city in a car, and then like the end, you leave the audience with this question. It's like, or will you just be one of those guys walking the street wondering what if? And it's like such a good hook. was that again, like your film production background just coming into play, or did you get help with that? How did you get the idea for it? And what's the message you're trying to
that's my Matthew McConaughey Lincoln commercial.
Okay. Yeah.
if anyone saw that, it's
Nice.
so funny. It's so similar. He has that video where he's driving the Lincoln.
Yeah.
He's all intense talking about his Lincoln. No, so what happened was in that time, and that was 2015, I had a film crew that I hired. And
nice.
They were very professional, really awesome. Young kids too, 19 years old. And they were so good. And so one day they came to me and they're like, hey, listen, an opportunity just came up. We know a guy who worked on the Fast and the Furious, and he can mount cars with a camera. Do you want to do a video where we mount your car? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, well, what am I going to say in this video? So it didn't start as, oh, I had this idea. This is the topic, and let's get me driving a car. Is the reverse.
Yeah. You guys we need to use this car mount.
Yeah. And I had a nice, so finally I got rid of the Honda Civic.
Nice.
And the business was doing well. So I had an Audi A4. I don't have it anymore because I moved to Chicago and didn't need a car. But so at this time I had an Audi, and I was like, yeah, let's mount this thing and I'll drive it. I was like, what am I going to talk about? And then at the same time, I was like, oh yeah, I want to do a motivational video. I knew I wanted to do a motivational video, but I never did it because I didn't exactly know what it was going to be like or how I was going to film it. So it was always in the back of my head, but I didn't know what to do. I said, oh, this is perfect. We'll do it me driving around and walking around the city, and I'll write some motivational script and do it. I wrote the script in like 5 minutes. I mean,
that's impressive. I would have thought this was like marinating in your head for like months. Like, yeah, this is my intro video.
It's like,
that's impressive.
It's those moments. It's just those moments. It's more natural. Like sometimes you have those moments where it happens so fast because it just, the creativity is there and just comes pouring out.
Yeah.
So I sat there and I was like, all right, what can I say? What's motivational combined with like, I'm saying this in the car, and it just came out. So I wrote the script, and I'm very, very bad at memorizing lines. So I actually taped the script to the dashboard. So I'm memorizing line by line as I'm driving the car, and then we did different angles.
Oh my God.
And that was a fun night driving around, LA and filming that thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Must have been a good film crew.
Yeah.
That's super cool. And you mentioned too, when you were in LA, I guess that was your personal development journey. You mentioned you were there from 22 to 30. You said there was a period, not sure when that was, when you're going out about 4 to 6 times a week, just learning how to connect with other people. So what was the biggest takeaway from that time? Was there anything you apply to your life outside of dating? And what was that? Yeah,
I think, it was a pretty out there move, right? Just to go out so many times and just practice talking to strangers.
Yeah.
Talking to women, which is the scariest for guys. Talking to a woman you find attractive, it's like, whoa, there's a lot of, most guys won't ever do it.
Yeah.
And I was doing it sober too. So to make it even harder, but I really had this like deep desire to just get this area handled. And so I think one of the biggest lessons that I learned from this was people are not as scary as you make them out to be. Like you imagine you're going to go talk to a group of strangers or a pretty girl and something crazy bad is going to happen. You're so scared of like the way she's going to reject you or throw a glass of water in your face, or people are going to be really mean, and guys come up with all these different scenarios in their head that never happen.
Yeah. And
it was amazing because I got to learn that firsthand. I talked to a lot of people, and most people are really cool. I mean, for the most part, sometimes a girl might reject you, but it's never a big deal. It's like never this big deal. It just kind of happens, and you're just like, oh, that wasn't very painful.
Yeah.
I can handle this. And so, so being able to do that, it did translate into other areas of my life. It made me more fearless with being able to communicate with others. So whether it be a friend, a family member, someone I meet for the first time, someone with networking, something with business, it gave me kind of this new social muscle, as I call it, in terms of, I built up this social muscle to be able to handle the pressure of being able to talk to someone in what would maybe be considered a high pressure situation. So having that skill built, I mean, was huge for me, you know? And I really think it's kind of an extreme thing, and a lot of people won't do it because it takes a lot of time, a lot of work, and it's really hard. But connected to the last thing I said earlier is that sometimes you got to do really, really hard things to get better results. That was another example of one of those. Just like going out, talking to people, getting the rejections, staying out late. I remember there was this 1 week where I was going out like every night, because sometimes I went out like every night for 2 to 3 weeks. I did that a couple times, every single night. And I'd go out, and I remember I still was working at my current job. So I'd go out to 1 or 2 in the morning, and I'd drive home. And I lived far. I lived far from, at this point, far from Hollywood, maybe 45 minutes away. So I remember driving home at 1:30, 2 in the morning, and I'm falling asleep at the wheel. Didn't drink a thing, like completely sober. Yeah. And I was swerving a little bit, and the cop pulled me over. And I don't know how, but he just knew I wasn't drunk. I'm so surprised he didn't give me a sobriety test. It was really weird.
Probably just after that many times being pulled over, he probably just knows.
He just knows. I don't know. Smelled it, didn't smell anything. I don't know. But he's like, all right, get home safe. I was like, okay. The next night, I'm driving, I'm falling asleep at the wheel again. I get pulled over again the next night. And the same exact thing happened. So 2 nights in a row, I get pulled over, being so tired, driving home 1, 2 in the morning. Luckily, didn't get any tickets. And I don't know. I still didn't learn my lesson. I was still going out most nights, and it was hard, but super rewarding.
Wow. So you were grinding at this. Like, this is like a part-time job for you, at least,
totally.
Maybe more.
Totally.
How long was this period you're talking about, going out 4 to 6 nights a week? Because
I did it for like a year, maybe a year and a half.
Okay.
And then it slowed down because I got into like a relationship, and then, you know, I mean, even now I'm single in this moment, so I'm doing it again. I'm going out, you know, and kind of doing what I was doing before.
Yeah, but you can take Ubers now. It's 2018, so
that's right. You can take Ubers. That's correct.
That's good. Man, that's wild. That is wild. That must have been fun, though. I could see that being a lot, really rewarding.
It was fun. It was fun. It was challenging. It was, you know, some nights were terrible. Some nights were awesome. It was definitely a time in my life I'll always remember, because it did a lot for me, for myself, and for building Tripp Advice. So,
yeah, especially for that. So back on that topic of Tripp Advice. So, you know, you mentioned that you don't consider yourself, or you don't look at yourself as an entrepreneur, some kind of serial business. You know, you don't have these aspirations to start all these companies and things like this. But you did get to this point. You know, you mentioned one resource, the YouTube video program. What other resources, if any, would you recommend? Would you recommend trying to find, you know, mentors with specific blogs you got help from? What sort of advice would you give to other aspiring entrepreneurs?
Let's see. I didn't really have a mentor, but I'm not going to not give that advice. I mean, that is advice I hear all the time, but I didn't really have a mentor. I guess the mentors I had were just seeing what other businesses like mine, what they were doing structurally. I wasn't stealing their advice or their content, but I would see how are they doing things, and I would just copy it. So like
how, can you give any specific examples? Because that's awesome advice.
Sure. So
I want to know this.
So for example, the way that I coached guys, okay, or this is more of the actual service itself, and then maybe I'll talk about marketing. The service itself was, I went out with guys and I would wire them up to a microphone. And so I'd be able to listen in on what they were saying to the girls that they were talking to, and I'd be all the way across the bar. So I didn't come up with that. I saw another dating coaching company do it. I was like, oh, that's genius. You can listen in on what the guys are saying and give them way better advice. And for a while, I was just taking out guys and not doing that. And I'd be like, all right, so what happened in the interaction? Like, what did she say to you? What happened? And it worked, but not as well. Once I got that mic, I was like, wow, I can help these guys way faster. So now the service became even better. Okay, so that's one example. In terms of marketing, well, I just saw how people were marketing and how they were selling. Like, what were they selling? Oh, they were selling these video courses. Okay. Oh, they're selling these membership programs. Oh, I gotta come up with a membership program. Okay, I gotta do that. Oh, this is what their sales page looks like, and this is how they're talking to guys when they're trying to sell them. Oh, this is how it's designed. And then you network and you talk to other people and you find out like what's working in their business and how is it working, how they're making sales. I saw other dating coaches on YouTube. It's like, oh, I got to make a YouTube channel. People are doing this. This is what's people are doing. Eventually, a couple of years later, which was a couple of years ago, I ended up doing another podcast because I knew podcasts were big and seeing, okay, this is what people are doing. This is how they're marketing. It's funny. A couple times I tried to get advice from people and they would just try to sell me. It was really weird.
Like other dating industry people, or what do you mean?
Yeah, one time I was sitting, this is when I was still working at my job, and it was lunchtime, and I called up this woman who had like a matchmaking dating coaching company in Chicago. And I was just like, listen, it was a random call. I called her up and I was like, I'm trying to be a dating coach. I know this is a random call, but I just want to know, like, how do you do it and how do you structure your business? And she's like, well, I can tell you, but I'll have to charge you. And I was like, okay. I'm like, well, I don't have $500. I didn't have $500 to spend on that.
Yeah.
So I do it. Then another time I got another call with a guy and I was like, hey, like, it seems like you're doing very well. You get clients. Like, how do you do it? And he also wanted to charge me to do it. Now I get it. Okay. It's fine. Like it's value. You don't owe me. You don't have to tell me these things for free.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say is what a very scarce mindset. Like I get it. If you want me to pay because you're a busy person and you don't have time to tell someone, like I don't have time either. I'm not going to sit down with someone random, but I'm not going to charge them. I mean, I've told people too. I have people DM me.
Yeah.
People who are aspiring dating coaches. Doesn't happen often, but maybe every couple months I'll get a guy, oh, I watch your stuff. Like I'm trying to become a dating coach. Like, what can I do? I'll just tell them really quickly. No, I don't have the time to sit down and teach them everything because I'm building my business, but I'm not going to charge them. I'm just like, it's very scarce mindset to think like, oh, you're going to give away your secrets. Like there's no secret.
Yeah.
Look at all my stuff. I even told another coach, I'm like, just look at my YouTube video and come up with your own twist. Don't just do everything I'm doing, but just steal my YouTube titles. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. Yeah. There's enough people to go around competition is good. It's healthy. And you want to be in line with your competition. You want to be friends with them. Mm-hmm. At least in this industry, it's a pretty tight knit community and a lot of us are friends and talk to each other a lot. And people all the time are just giving away what they're doing. Because it's, first of all, here's the thing. I could sit down, I could have someone pay me thousands of dollars and I can give them every little intricate thing I'm doing in the business and show them how to do it. That still doesn't mean they're even going to be successful. But even if they are, what is that going to do to your business?
Yeah.
Like nothing. It's not going to do anything because they're going to give advice their way. And if their advice sucks, their business is going to be doomed. And you can't teach someone how to make the product. Like it's their product. It's their thing, So I don't know. I just don't. So yeah, I guess just going back, that was my story, kind of how I tried to get a mentor, couldn't afford it, and just kind of realized people were very, I don't know. It was just interesting dealing with these kinds of people who were really keeping themselves like tight like that. So I never ended up having a mentor, but I learned a lot online. I guess I had mentors online technically, not people who I talked to personally, but people I learned from, people in the internet marketing world, learning about selling and sales pages and all that stuff. And then, eventually I ended up getting a business partner a couple of years ago, and he's basically like a mentor. He's part of the business. And he's always teaching me a lot of stuff because his passion is marketing and he's learned it and studied it hardcore. And so he helps a lot of that part of the business. So, look at what other people are doing and just do what's working. Like, forget innovation. Even I remember reading a story in Malcolm Gladwell's book called, I think it was Outliers. And he talks about how Apple, they didn't innovate with the iPod. Okay. So when the iPod came out, it was not an innovation. There was plenty of devices that had MP3s on it. So they didn't make that up. They just made a really awesome product.
Yeah.
So they just took what was working, but made it better. And I love that. I was like, wow, that's great. It's like, I mean, if you have an innovation, great. If you have something that's totally new and mind-blowing, okay, great, go for it. But if you're in something that's kind of already been done, but you think you can do it better, yeah, just look at what other people are doing, see the structure of it, and just make it your own and make it better. But in terms of the way marketing works, like that's never going to change. Marketing principles are always going to stay the same. And it really just boils down to, do you have a good product? Do you have a good product, and do people want it? If you have those two things in place, and of course the drive, I guess, is like the secret sauce of it, then you can build a huge business. You just got to make sure it's something that people want. And when they get that thing, does it work? Does it do the thing that they want it to do? Does it play the MP3s really nicely and hold a lot of MP3s? Do they buy a dating course, a course on dating advice, and does it work? Does it get them results? Right? So do you have a product that people want? Does it work for them?
Yeah.
Get it out there. And marketing starts with the product, always.
That's awesome. That's two things you said stand out so much. The marketing always starts with the product. I've had people now say that on this from so many different industries, whether it's software, dating advice, doesn't matter. Marketing starts with the product. Actually, it was the CMO, the chief marketing officer from Quest Nutrition, like Quest bars.
Yeah.
He said that he's like, if you don't, like the world does not need more shitty products. Like marketing starts with the product. He's like, my job, like I did amazing as the marketing officer or whatever, but it was really like, it started with that product because it was so good, so much better than what was out.
Marketing is easy.
Totally agree.
When you have a good product.
Yes.
And then when you have something that's awesome, it sells itself practically.
Yeah. Has that been the way it's been with most of your products too? It sounds like the dating thing took off from day one, like the coaching.
Well, yeah, but I've had a lot of failures, right? So the first YouTube channel was a failure. It wasn't a good product. It was good for entertainment, but that's not what I was selling. I was selling dating advice. So it wasn't technically a good product because it didn't give the people what they wanted, which is why I had to scrap that whole idea, start a new channel, and just give them exactly what they wanted, which was in this case, the direct advice on what to do in terms of dating. So, and then I've created plenty of products that didn't work or didn't sell or people didn't want it. Trying to think of an example of one. Yeah. Like I think here's a good example. When guys are looking for dating advice, they're not looking for style advice. Now, that's not very intuitive. Intuitively, you'd think, guy wants to learn how to date and meet girls. He's probably thinking, well, I need to learn how to dress well, right? It's like, that's kind of a whole thing.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. So I would put out videos on style, on what kind of shirts to wear and how to dress and all this stuff. And those videos always bombed. They never did well. I was always like, why? I still don't really know to this day. I think maybe I have an idea. I just think that style advice is really big. There's plenty of YouTubers that have bigger channels than I do, super huge channels that do very well. But those are guys looking for style advice because they want to be stylish. Sure, maybe they want to be stylish for women, but they're not coming to Tripp to learn style. Yeah, they're coming to Tripp to learn about dating. Yeah. So, so the counterintuitive part is don't teach them about style because they don't care. So I don't put out any videos like that anymore. Maybe once a year I'll put out something, but I never put that stuff out anymore. Can I talk about it? Sure, I can talk about that. Would I want to talk about it? Yeah, I'll talk about that. But that's not what they want, and it's not going to do anything, and it's going to be a video that's going to completely bomb. So no videos on that. I'm never going to sell a course on that, and I'm never going to touch it.
Well, have you done the videos on like the bridge for that customer awareness on like why style is actually something they do want to learn, or like have you tried one of those?
A little bit. I mean, in the book I talk about style, but very little, because there's only a few principles that the guys really need to know. Otherwise, you can go down a very deep hole with style. There's so much to learn. I mean, so much with men's fashion. It's like crazy. Like all the way from how to zip your jacket properly and the right fit and cufflinks to socks to every part you could ever think of. I mean, it's huge. And it's a niche, and people are making a lot of money off of it. And a lot of guys want to learn that stuff, but not from me. So about it.
Yeah. Fair enough. There's some big style channels.
Enough, it's not that important. Like just do a couple things and you're kind of good to go. It's really not the most key thing in terms of attracting women. It helps, but it's not the most important.
That's good. Cause man, I have a long way to go with styles. But so one thing I did think was interesting though is you mentioned looking at other people's stuff. Man, reverse engineering comes up from everything. That's another one I've heard. People from software engineers to designers to everyone go online and look at what's working and copy it. And it's insane how much that comes up. Like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, there only needs to be a few innovators in this world, and then you can take whatever you're trying to make better and just reverse engineer. And I don't think there's anything ethically wrong with that at all. Like it's fine. It's when it comes to ethical terms, it's, are you stealing their product? So in my industry it'd be, am I just listening to other competitors' advice and just ripping it off and saying it? Now it's tough because the dating advice industry, there's only so much information that exists. So obviously people are going to be talking about the same things. Obviously some of the things that I'm saying, other people are saying. Some of the stuff I learned from the past maybe came from other people, but I make my own little twist on it. But if you're creating a product that's marketed in literally the exact same way with the same title and teaching the same stuff, then you're just really, I don't know what you're doing. You're not creating your own product. You're literally just ripping someone off. Or I don't know, there's people out there, scammers, who will take your stuff on the internet and just sell it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they'll torrent it. They're able to figure out how to get.
And they sell it, man. You see what the U.S. government does to people that violate IP. I wouldn't want to be on the wrong end of that.
Yeah, I know. So there's a lot of that going around.
That's crazy.
I know. And they stay anonymous and make money off of that. I don't know how well they really do, but yeah, that happens all the time.
That's crazy. That's super crazy. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you have a vacation to get back to in Prague, so I have just one last question. Is there anything, Tripp, that I didn't ask you that I should have, or that you'd like to leave people with? Anything like that?
Let's see. Something that didn't ask me. I would say, well, I think one thing I can say for people is, this is advice that I've heard, so this is not original from me, but it's something that I've heard that's really, really key. And so whenever you're doing anything in life, and in this case, we're talking about building a business, right? Entrepreneurship, you got to ask yourself why you're doing it. You need to have a really good why. And when you have a good why, it gives you the motivation and it gives you the drive to keep going, right? So a really poor why is money. Okay. So of course, as a business owner, you want to make more money, but it shouldn't be the sole why, because it's going to be a lot harder if you're just focusing on money. You need to focus on something deeper than that. And then what happens is, counterintuitively, more money actually comes in when you're not focusing on it. So for example, for me, my why is the mission of, I want to help as many guys as possible meet and attract women. I want to help as many guys as possible defeat their shyness, to experience what it's like to be with a woman that they're really attracted to. My why is to get as many guys as I can to help them not settle so they can have really awesome relationships, sexual experiences, and live out the dating life that they really want. For a lot of guys, that's eventually finding a wife and getting married. For some guys, it's just being able to meet a lot of girls, and so my mission has become help as many guys as possible. So when that's my why, all other questions are answered towards that. It's like, okay, so if that's the reason, well, then I got to make sure that I do anything I can to help these guys and hustle as much as I can to get to that point, and put out the videos I need to put out, and write a book as fast as I can to get it out to the people. And, work all day on editing a video to make sure it's succinct enough so the guy understands and gets it. And you're just working on all this value, and you're just adding more and more value to the product and the thing that you're selling. And so with that, the money comes, so it's way better to focus on what your mission is. I mean, you can probably look up some cool motivational stuff on like Steve Jobs and why they created the iPhone. It's like, yeah, they created the iPhone to make a ton of money, and they knew it'd be, I don't know if they knew for sure that was a big innovation, but to make that to make a lot of money. But there was something deeper behind that, and every big entrepreneur has something deeper behind that. Anything that Richard Branson talks about, or Elon Musk, and there's always a why involved. So you got to figure out what it is. And I think it's fairly easy in the beginning. A lot of entrepreneurs, they are very passionate, but once success comes, something weird happens. Like you start focusing on money again, and you start to get maybe a little greedy, and you're like, oh yeah, money. And you start to make the wrong decisions. And that's happened in my business. I'll admit that. There's times where I felt kind of like, oh yeah, okay, do this. And they were never the right decisions. Never, ever, ever. Taking shortcuts, things like that. So it always come back to the why. How much value can you offer someone? And then the success will come. Hopefully you have something that people want.
That's awesome. Totally love that. Well, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut it. We can chat after, but Tripp, thank you for coming on and talking to us. I really appreciate it. That's some awesome advice.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.